Welcome to the Friends Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I am Justin Mason, lead fantasy analyst and writer at friendsoffantasybenefits.com. Joining me on the Monday episode is Dave McDonald. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. We're back. Are we back?
We're back.
I think we're back.
Yeah. It's been a while. Been too long.
It's been way too long. We are on my laptop, so it's a little more challenging. I don't have, 3 screens like I do on my regular desktop, so I'm trying to compile everything into little tiny parts of my laptop screen to read from here. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it live. Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a bunch of news on this episode. We're going to do it like we've been doing it right before we had to take that hiatus, where we're going to record a bunch of episodes in a row. You guys will get them day after day. Unless you're watching live here on the YouTube or on the Twitch, you can follow both of those at Justin Mason FWFB on both YouTube and Twitch. You follow me on Twitter, Justin Mason FWFB. Follow Dave on Twitter at RunDMCD. Don't forget that D. Yep. So let's just jump in. Good amount of news to cover. Let's start with Steven Matz hitting the IL with a lat strain. This kind of came out of nowhere. Matz had pitched really, really well. I've been relying on him in a couple of leagues to kind of pick up the slack of other injured pitchers, but he suffers the same fate that a lot of other pitchers have suffered, which is an extended IL stint. The reports are that this could potentially end his season. Easy drop for you?
Yeah, unfortunately, at this point in the season, any non-insignificant pitcher injury, anything with to do with the arm, shoulder, elbow, you're done. You're either done or you're going to be back with maybe a couple of weeks left. But here's the thing. We talked about this well before we started the podcast. With hitters coming back, they can kind of go on a short rehab stint, and maybe they don't even need a rehab stint and just come right back and start playing. With pitchers, they need to ramp up. There's setbacks often, especially with arm injuries with pitchers. And then, when they do finally make it back, they need to have at least 1 or 2 rehab starts, depending on how long they've been out. And then the first start back, you probably don't want that start because are they 100%? Are they going to, be on a pitch count? You just don't know. And it's too late in the season to rely on those guys. You need to move on.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a bummer because Matz had pitched really, really well. He's, I think, the only starter on the Cardinals that is not a pending free agent. So he should be slotted straight back into the rotation next season. I think he'll be a little bit of a sneaky buy. I don't think people are going to be overly excited by him in terms of his draft stock. So I think he's a guy I'll definitely be looking to target kind of in the middle, late rounds in drafts next year.
Well, it depends because in the NFBC world, we know that Phil Dussault is a huge Steven Matz guy. So,
and he moves the needle in ADP when people, talk about guys, Phil likes.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So I think it's well known how into Matz he is. And, I don't think he's going to surprise anybody, but he does have injury concerns, you don't want to overrate him, but part of the thing is, a lot of times when Phil drafted Matz in the past, it's been pretty late. So, if you can get him at a decent price where you're, basically rostering him as a streamer and hoping for more, then sure. We'll have to see what his velo is like next year. But, yeah, I think he's worth taking a shot on. Yeah, this came out of nowhere, man. He was so good. He didn't even have a bad outing last time. Usually when a guy is hurt, you kind of see some signs. I didn't see anything. And there's just oh, by the way, he might be done for the year. It's all right. Well,
wish you guys would have told us that yesterday.
Yeah, of course. This is how it goes, man. It's always on a Monday that you figure this shit out right after Fab on Sunday.
Yeah. Jose Abreu went to the IL, I think, yesterday after getting 2 cortisone shots in his back and not alleviating the discomfort he was feeling. Pretty easy drop as well.
I held him. It was kind of with back injuries. You never really know. It could be a minimum stint, and if it's not, he'll be an easy drop for me next week if it's still unclear or if it's worsened since then. But I had him in my super. I have him in a bunch of leagues. In 12s, he's an easy drop. In 15s, it's a little tougher. First base is not a position that there's a lot out there for. Luke and Baker got called up, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But, I don't know what the playing time is going to be for him. So I didn't really have an easy replacement for him. So I actually held him for now.
Yeah, I dropped him in the only league I had him in. I think that was a 12. But
Yeah,
I would have dropped him in a 15. Like, I mean, if you're getting 2 cortisone shots in your back at this point in the season, I have very little hope you're going to be making it back anytime soon. And while it's hard to replace it, it's not like it's hard to replace the production he's put up this year, which has been mediocre at best. So I would have dropped him for a John Singleton, who's the natural replacement in Houston, or like an Alec Burleson, or
does Burleson even have first base eligibility?
He does. Yeah, he's the first base and outfield eligible.
Nah, so. I don't know about that, man. I mean, Baker's probably going to take a lot of that playing time there. I think
Baker is a short side platoon with Burleson.
It's possible, but I don't know. I mean, like, Baker crushed the minors. I don't know what else they want him to show. Like, they're not playing for anything. Why wouldn't they give him a shot? I mean, they weren't playing Burleson every day even before Baker got called up. So I don't know. I didn't know he had first base eligibility, but I wouldn't have replaced Abreu with him, to be honest. Like, when Abreu plays, he plays in the middle of a really good Astros lineup. Burleson plays at the bottom of a bad Cardinals lineup. So I don't know. And it doesn't play every day. So I think you're underestimating just how bad the waiver wire is in 15s for first baseman.
Oh, no. I mean, I know how bad it is. I mean, that's for damn sure. I was looking for a first baseman this week in one of my leagues.
How'd that go?
It didn't go well because I can't even remember who I picked up, honestly. And I'm not going to go look. Next one on the docket, Marcus Stroman is expected to start Wednesday. I was really hoping that he would start Friday against the Orioles.
It was supposed to be Saturday. Originally, it was supposed to be Saturday. And then it got pushed up to Wednesday, and he hasn't even had a rehab start. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it is against the White Sox, so that's not a bad opportunity. This means Javier Assad is not starting Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are you dropping Assad if he is being pushed back into the bullpen? Because he looked really good last time out.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a guy that I liked him. Like, I drafted him on some DCs and stuff, but he doesn't have good swing and miss stuff. He's going to get hit up at some point, but we only have a month and a half left. So you're just looking to play guys, who can be productive for you. And the Cubs have a good offense. They're winning games. So yeah, I picked up Assad for $1 or $2 in a couple NFBC teams yesterday. So, cause the thing was, if he started on Wednesday, he was then lined up to get a nice 2 start against like Pittsburgh and Detroit or some shit next week. So like, that's really what I wanted in addition to being a good start this week. But so here's the thing. If Stroman moves up to Wednesday, it's possible that they just move Assad back to Friday. But the thing is that would put Steele on like 7 days rest. So I feel like they're going to move Steele up to Friday and then probably move Taijuan up to Saturday as well, so that he's not on too much rest. And so then I think Assad starts Sunday or they use him as a reliever this week. So kind of a bummer for Assad's purposes with Stroman getting moved up. But yeah, that's kind of how that's what my feeling is, because I don't know why they would have rushed Stroman back unless they just wanted to skip Assad's start.
So what are you doing with Assad? They didn't play today. So in NFBC and leagues where your week doesn't lock until that player plays his first game, if you have another option that's reasonable, would you switch him out right now? What's
reasonable?
I don't know. Let's see. Give me a second. I'll give you some options.
Like, I would play him over non-closer relievers. I would play him over like pitchers who have horrendous schedules for this week. But if I have like a legit guy, like if I had like a Littell, for example, who starting for Tampa this week, getting some he could even 2-start.
He's getting the Giants, yeah.
Yeah, he gets the Giants, but he could also get the Angels on Sunday, so he could 2-step. But even just the Giants, I would start Littell over Assad. But
what about someone like Josiah Gray?
No. I'll take Assad over Gray.
What about let's let's see. I'm just like pulling up random teams and seeing who hasn't played games yet.
Well, you can look at my schedule to see who plays.
Oh, that would be smart. Obviously not Michael Kopech at
No.
Colorado.
No, I would never in a million years own Michael Kopech.
Let's see. Noah Syndergaard.
No, good Lord, no.
I'm trying to just go to random.
Stop it right now.
So I'm assuming Mackenzie Gore.
No,
you wouldn't do.
No.
What about Wade Miley
versus the Dodgers? No.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the next week. All right, here we go. How about Alex Fado, who's got a potential?
That's tough. So
at Minnesota.
Yeah, Faedo, I love that he gets Cleveland in the second matchup, but his first matchup he gets Minnesota, who crushes righties. So I think it just depends on whether you need. I mean, if you need wins and Ks, he's the play over Assad for sure. If you need ratio help, I don't know. I'd probably go Faedo over Assad overall.
What about Jameson Taijuan versus Kansas
I would take
City?
Taijuan. Yeah, Taijuan should get Kansas City, and I know he got blown up last outing, but I think there's some bad luck there. There's some bad fielding there for sure that led to some of those issues. I mean, Kansas City's hitting better lately, but I'm still not that concerned about them. I'll take Taijuan.
I don't see any other good options here, unfortunately, that aren't already rostered like everywhere. Oh, here we go. Matt Manning at Cleveland.
No, I'll take Assad.
Take Assad.
Okay. I mean, granted, Cleveland offense is terrible.
It's really bad. Yeah,
it is. It's bordering on minor league.
It was Matt Manning in general. So
I just don't trust Matt Manning, and I would just rather take a shot that Assad gets a start this week than rely on Manning.
Okay. And are you starting Stroman versus like in most leagues right here?
So I have him in my super, which is my most important league pretty much right now, and I have that decision that I have to make tomorrow. As of right now, I don't think I'm going to start him. I mean, I love the matchup, but Stroman was bad, and then he got hurt, and he's coming back off of injury. I just don't know. I don't know that I can expect him to be great. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's gonna be great. I don't know if I can expect him to be not terrible.
Yeah, my only other option is the aforementioned Josiah Gray for I'm going to be starting Stroman and praying it doesn't rain on me. So
yeah, no, that in that situation, yes.
So yeah, this is the 15-team leagues at this point are pretty gross.
Yeah, it's not good.
Canning pitched in relief today after Sandoval got just shellacked by the Texas Rangers. Canning went on to get shellacked by the Rangers because they're just shellacking people left and right.
Yeah.
Are you dropping Griffin Canning right now? Because I don't know that he's really in this rotation moving forward with Chase Silseth pitching well enough.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I saw a lot of people picking up Canning yesterday in Fab, and I didn't. I don't like their schedule a lot moving forward. And then, obviously they've got the 6-man rotation, but, we don't know. I mean, right now they're skipping Ohtani. They're probably going to do a Berea Penn game this week now because they use Canning in relief instead of Wednesday versus Texas, which is what he was scheduled for. You can in 12s, you definitely don't need to be rostering Griffin Canning. And honestly, in 15s, I definitely think Silseth keeps that spot. Like, he's pitching way too well. I mean, honestly, I feel like Detmers and Tyler Anderson, either one of them could go before Silseth goes. So if you've got Silseth, I would just hold him.
I don't think Anderson's going anywhere with that contract. So,
you go to the bullpen.
Yeah, I don't think you're moving the guy you just paid as much as they did.
They're trying to compete. It doesn't matter what you're being paid.
They're not competing. Let's
they're trying to delude themselves into thinking that they're competing.
Yeah, they're under 500 and fourth in division. They're 5 games back of the Mariners, who aren't even playoff spot as of right now. So they're not competing. Let's be honest here. I think they know that. speaking of not competing, they didn't trade Shohei Ohtani. Now Shohei Ohtani has his start skipped because of general soreness. Any concerns with Ohtani as a pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, because he keeps having blisters and shit. Like, I mean, early in the year, I used Ohtani as a pitcher several weeks, and he was great. But for the last, 2 months, he's been pretty much – I mean, on top of the fact that he's been unreliable as a starter, he's been dominant as a hitter. So you have no choice but to play him as a hitter at this point. So, he's supposed to come back next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, they said, versus the Reds. So I don't love that. Like, coming off of a long layoff, and then you're facing a team that's elite against righties. And granted, when he's on, it doesn't really matter who he's facing, but it's hard to trust him right now. I just think if you have Ohtani, you're using him as a hitter right now, period.
Yeah, which is a huge bummer for me because in the spots where I've got Ohtani, I've got plenty of offense. Like, I don't need –
and that flexibility is so much of his value, but you just can't rely on him as a starter right now, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can. I mean, depending on if he's for sure going up against the Reds or maybe they wait longer. If they would wait a little bit longer in the week for him to pitch next week, he'd get at the Mets, which I would much prefer. Yeah, I may end up rolling him out as a pitcher next week anyways in a couple leagues where, I really don't need him offensively and I need pitching. So, I might just take the gamble that he's, good against Cincinnati. So, but at the moment, if you have any need in terms of his hitting ability, you just got to keep running him out as a hitter. All right. Next news item on the docket, Taijuan Walker. Orioles. They're going to a 6-man rotation. Cole Irvin going to join the rotation later in the week, which means Grayson Rodriguez, who pitched phenomenally well tonight against the Padres, is not getting a 2-step. Any interest in Cole Irvin moving forward?
I mean, for this, I think Cole Irvin is a little underrated. Like, he's not a guy you're going to be excited about, but the Orioles are a good team, and he's not bad. Like, he's not, again, not someone you're going to be excited about. He's not an ace. He's nowhere close, but he's usable in the right matchups, and he faces Oakland this week. So, I mean, I'm absolutely interested in him versus Oakland because he's got a decent shot at a win, and I definitely don't think he's going to hurt my ratios there either. So I know a lot of people were upset because there's a lot of Grayson owners out there hoping for that 2-step because he would have gotten Oakland instead of Cole Irvin. Me, Zach, and Guilds were all talking about this earlier today, and Zach ended up benching Grayson in a bunch of places where he had viable other options because he was afraid of San Diego's offense. And I was like, San Diego's really good against lefties, but against righties, they're middle of the road. They're okay, but they're nothing to be scared of, assuming you think Grayson's a solid pitcher, which I do. I think Grayson's really good, honestly. Like, I don't think he's an ace or anything, but I think he's in that tier maybe 3, moving up possibly into tier 2. Like, he's looking legit, and he's a guy who I will absolutely be investing in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to invest him in the future. Irvin's a guy that, like you said, he is a usable streamer, and he's going to have 2 really nice matchups in a row. He's getting Oakland in Oakland, and then he's getting the Rockies in Camden. Those are 2 pretty good matchups, kind of set up for him. If you can pick up Cole Irvin, I kind of wish I picked him up this week so I could get, this Oakland start and next week's Colorado start. But yeah, if you can pick up Cole Irvin, that's a pretty decent stream. Camden's a great place to pitch right now.
It really is. Yeah.
Taijuan Walker got skipped in the rotation. I think this is something we're going to start seeing a lot from the Phillies in general because they've already, they did this after Lorenzen threw his no-hitter. They skipped him. But they've got 6 usable guys in the rotation. So I think each guy is going to get skipped, as the season kind of wears on, maybe outside of Zach Wheeler. Any worries about any of this? I kind of like it because it means Christopher Sanchez gets to stay in the rotation.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you didn't drop him yesterday then?
Sanchez? No.
Okay. So I dropped him in Glarf, because basically people were the beats were talking about how he's the obvious candidate to be removed from the rotation and they think he's going to be removed. And I mean, in Glarf, I didn't really, I'm so low that I'm just trying to make moves. I don't have time to hold on, guys.
We'll get there on the Wednesday episode.
Oh yeah. But I can't wait for that. But like Sanchez is really good, and it's going to be tough for them because Taijuan's not been good lately. It's really tough to, even if he's being paid and all that stuff, and he's more entrenched in the rotation, but for a team who's trying to win right now, like, you want to play your best players. So Sanchez has been one of their best 5 pitchers. There's no doubt about that. So in general, you don't want to drop those guys. In a main event or my super, I wouldn't have dropped Sanchez if we're being honest, but I was a little more aggressive considering it was Glarf and I could pick up a usable starter for right now. But the other thing was they talked about Taijuan having a dead arm. So it wasn't just skipping him to skip him. It was because he had a dead arm, but it was a pay article and I wasn't going to pay to read it. So I don't know exactly what it said, but the headline underneath it was that he had dead arm and they were trying to give him some time off to recover. So they said they were going to give him a few extra days, whether that means skipping him and then having him pitch in his regular spot next week. I don't know, or just moving him back a few days to the weekend or early next week. I don't know what they're going to do. It's kind of up in the air right now.
I would not be surprised if the IL. His last start, his average fastball velocity was 90.8 miles per hour. For reference, in mid-June when he was rolling, he was at 94.1.
Okay, well, that would explain it.
Yeah. So I would not be surprised if Walker hit the IL. I also wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if they just start giving everybody a day off. They seem to be kind of starting to cement themselves in this playoff race a little bit. So maybe they, maybe they skip, all these guys a little bit here to kind of make sure they're all kind of ready for the playoffs. But if one guy's going to lose a rotation spot right now, at least for the stretch run, I think you're right. I think it's going to be Walker. Next on the docket is Jonathan India had a setback with his foot. He was supposed to be back like last Tuesday, and then it got pushed to Friday, and then all of a sudden, hey, he's having issues. I dropped him in all the leagues I had him in. One, I don't know if and when he's gonna come back, and two, I don't even know what his role is once he does come back with Encarnacio Strand there, Ellie De La Cruz there, and Matt McClain, and obviously Joey Votto is going to die on first base in Cincinnati. So did you have India anywhere, and did you keep him?
Yeah. India was definitely a guy I had several shares of. So no, it's that time of the year, man. I don't have the roster spots to hold guys. Like, you need production now. Like we talked about this before the podcast, you're going to have certain spots that you're going to be holding those prime injury candidates, like your Bo Bichette kind of guys, where you're not dropping them. But Jonathan India was very solid, but he's not a guy that you're going to hold on to for multiple weeks when there's only like 7 weeks left, 6-7 weeks left. So, when you have a setback, that says that's a multi-week thing. I mean, I'm thinking he's out until at least September, if not longer after that. And like you said, when he comes back, is he going to play every day? I don't know. What's his role going to be? I think he's going to play most days, but I don't know. It just didn't make sense to hold him, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a plantar fasciitis injury, so like,
yeah,
those. If you've ever played fantasy football, like how devastating those can be.
Yeah.
So, we don't tend to see him very often in baseball, but I think the chances that he's back before like halfway through September is pretty much nothing. So,
and then when he comes back, is he going to be stolen bases are a pretty big part of his value. Yeah. So how much is he going to be running?
Or just playing every day. Like he's not a guy who's got a carrying tool in fantasy, and so he needs to play every day to like carry the kind of value you want from a guy like India. And I just don't know that that's going to happen. And I think he's getting traded in the offseason, for those wondering for now.
Yeah, I mean they discussed it, so yeah, it sounds like it.
I think he would have been traded at the deadline had he been healthy. Mike Yastrzemski has a setback as well. If you were holding on to him or picked him up because you thought he was going to be back soon, you can go ahead and drop him. I don't think he's coming back either.
Yeah, that's a bummer for anybody who picked him up because literally the report going into Sunday was, hey, he's ready to come back. He's going to come back Monday and he's good to go. He's not even going to go on a rehab assignment. Like, it's all good. And then sure enough, the next day it was like, oh nope, he has a setback. He's not coming back. And then they called up what's his name?
Meckler.
Yeah, Meckler, exactly. Who I did not ever hear of until today. So now I know who Meckler is.
Yeah, Meckler, he was an 8th round draft pick in the 2022 draft. He started in high A this year. He worked his way all the way up to the majors. He's not a fantasy guy though. So like he has a little bit of speed, but he's mostly a hit tool guy and an OBP guy. He could be like an accumulator type in a full season, but when we're talking 6 weeks left in the season, like Meckler's not going to do enough to like move the needle in any format other than maybe NL.
If he's hitting second, he could have some counting stats significance, but I don't feel like he has enough power or speed to really move the needle too much.
Especially not in that park. Like that park, like he's going to struggle to get the ball out of the yard. So I'll be super surprised if he even if he plays every day rest of the way. I'd be surprised if he had 5 home runs. Like there's not enough fantasy juice. Yeah,
that's what it seemed like to me too. And they sent down Luis Matos.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the guy who I was interested in adding for $1 this week was Heliot Ramos. I thought he was going to get more playing time, but I think he can't play center field. They needed someone who played center field, and once Yaz had the setback, because he was the guy who could play center field, and then Ramos could play a corner. But once Yaz had the setback, I think that was kind of the end of that plan.
Which is interesting because Meckler is not a good defensive center fielder. At least I don't think he's supposed to be. It's interesting that Meckler is the guy that they're going to try to go with. I don't know.
I know that their offense has been stagnant for so long that I don't think the defense is their priority right now.
No, it's clearly not, especially when you have Jock Peterson, Michael Conforto in the corners, and now you're going to put a guy who doesn't really profile as a center fielder. It's going to hurt Alex Cobb and Logan Webb and all the other.
Alex Cobb has been hurting Alex Cobb lately.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. All right. Next on the list is Carlos Rodon. He's hoping to be back next week. I bid on him in my main event and fucking missed out by $1, which is a huge bummer because the team above me, Matt Modica and Jason Anthony, sharing a team with the team that got him. Rodon has not been good when healthy, but I mean, there's still elite talent in the arm, or would you be interested in picking him up if he was available?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't know that he was coming back soon. I don't own any Carlos Rodon. I would not bid high on him. I don't have a lot of faith in him. But yeah, there certainly is a chance that he has that elite ability. But like you said, we haven't really seen that when he's been healthy so far this year. So I definitely wouldn't go overboard on him, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't hold him on my team over guys like, say, Cole Reagans, who is already pitching really well and can help me for sure. I think at this point in the season, especially, you need to stop worrying about name value. Like, don't think of Carlos Rodon as Carlos Rodon right now because he's not. He's not been that this year. He's not going to be that coming off this injury. Could he be usable? Yes, but that doesn't mean that you want to roster him over guys who are already doing well right now. So don't make the mistake of going hard after Rodon when you can go after guys who are actually good right now. I don't know. So I didn't go after him. I don't think he was available in my leagues, but I didn't even know he was due back that soon.
Yeah. I mean, if he does come back at the beginning of the week next week, as is kind of expected, he's going to go up against the Washington Nationals. And I think some people are going to go, hey, Washington Nationals, they're a really
well, you and I have talked about this before.
They're a really, really bad team. You know what they don't do? They don't strike out, and they definitely don't strike out against left-handed pitching. They have the lowest strikeout rate against left-handed pitching in the entire majors, and they've hit lefties pretty well.
Yeah.
And is Rodon going to go deep enough into the game to begin with to qualify for a win? It actually might be kind of a trap game.
It could be
for Rodon. And then he would get, if he ends up getting like a 2 start, like let's say he starts Tuesday, which is the first game of that series against the Nationals, his second game would be at Tampa Bay, another team that murders left-handed pitching. I don't know that you even want to start him next week. I did bid on him, especially because.
Sorry, I would say over the last month, Tampa is the 5th worst team in baseball against lefties with the 64 WRC plus. So I'm not afraid of Tampa against lefties. I'm more afraid of Washington. But honestly, like if Rodon is Rodon, it doesn't matter who he's facing. I don't believe he is, and I don't think he will be coming off injury his first start back.
Okay. All right, next on the docket is Allan Winans was sent down. Why did you put this on the rundown?
Because did you see his first start?
Yeah, but I mean, like, no one got to use it, and now no one's going to get to use it again. So, what does it matter for fantasy?
Do you think he's going
to be back soon, or?
I mean, I don't know. I'm befuddled. I picked him up thinking, obviously, they're going to replace Yonny Chirinos, who sucks complete ass. Like, why wouldn't you? It makes no sense.
Because Chirinos gives them depth. Like, I know if they can't, I don't think he's got any options. They can't like send Chirinos down. They'd have to DFA him, and he gives.
Go ahead and DFA him. He's fucking bad.
I know he's bad. He just murdered my main event team twice. It's a real baseball move, and they are ahead in the standings. Like they don't need to, they don't need to like. If they were a team like in the like wild card hunt and like, hey, we need to win games right now. But that's fair. The reason, like we're gonna talk about Ozzie Albies here in a second. I think the only reason Ozzie Albies is going on the IL is because they've got this massive lead in the division.
Maybe, but hamstring injuries are not to be fucked with, and they're usually several week injuries.
But they're able to be more conservative with it. Like they were calling it a cramp last night. I think they're just being really conservative with it because they've got this huge lead that they can play with, right? Like so.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't think about that. Them and the Dodgers are the only 2 teams in baseball who are really like definitely don't have anything to worry about with the teams behind them catching them. So, that's a good point. I guess that does make some sense then. But yeah, I mean, I do think you should be on the lookout if Allan Winans, whatever his last name is pronounced, if he gets called back up, you should be on the lookout because I mean, I definitely think that he would be more useful than Yonny Chirinos for their team if they need him at any point.
Let's say Fab comes around on Sunday. Are you stashing him? Like, would you pick him up for a buck or two with the hopes that, hey, maybe he's back up once they decide that Yonny Chirinos is garbage and needs to be DFA'd? Or maybe like Bryce Elder hasn't been good recently, and Bryce Elder goes to the pen or something like that. Like, would you pick up Winans in the hopes that, hey, if he rejoins the rotation, he could be a really nice piece down the stretch?
I mean, I already picked him up on some teams, so what you're really asking me is, am I going to drop him?
Yeah, or that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to choose current production over possible future production at this point in the season. So, would I drop him for a guy who I know is going to produce for me the following week? Yes, I would. So, okay. I think I'll end up dropping him, but we'll see.
All right. Jake McCarthy sent down for the second time this season. I mean, he'd been stealing bases, but that's all he's been doing. Like, he had been absolutely garbage at the plate. Is this the end of Jake McCarthy?
I don't know about the end. I would say no to being like the definitive end of him, but it might be the end of him being like thought of as a really relevant fantasy asset.
Anything more than the outfield version of Birdie?
Birdie.
Yeah, I mean
that's I know
what he is, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, really, yeah. I mean, there was a stretch last year where he was producing all around and playing every day, but yeah, he hasn't been playing every day for a while. And it's hard to drop him because he impacts the stolen bases category so much because he can steal 2-3 bases a game. So, but yeah, I think outside of people who are desperate for steals, I think that might be it.
I'd like to propose a real life MLB rule to help fantasy managers, which is outside of an injury, MLB teams have to lock their lineups before Fab runs on Sunday for the next week. So I know what the fuck to do here. Because on one team, I lost both Ozzie Albies and Jake McCarthy, and now I'm like, oh great, I got this league has only like 3 bench spots, and 2 of them are filled with guys I can't effing use right now. So, as I'm trying to compete for a playoff spot in a head-to-head league.
Well, it being your team, I'm sure you've got Cedric Mullins on there, so
I do. But the problem is I activated him on Sunday and dropped someone to do that. And then I didn't get to replace these other 2 bozos when they were on the IL and down to the minors. So, yeah, what a bummer. Colton Cowser sent down. I mean, he struggled. This is not surprising. I think he's going to be fine long term, but this is just this is the downside of prospects, right? Like we've had some prospects who've just been can't miss, fantastic, and then other ones that have been mediocre, like Taijuan Walker, or just straight bad, like Colton Cowser. So I think this is a good reminder that not every prospect is successful, especially initially.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's just that growth isn't linear. Guys don't come up and like start strong and then keep getting better. Like they struggle, then they have some success, and they struggle again. It's a game of adjustments, and the really good prospects will adjust over time. So I think Cowser's a great buy low in the future, but for right now, yeah, I mean, he was struggling. He looked he was over his head. They weren't giving him everyday playing time. I mean, even in my shallow leagues, like my Yahoo leagues, people went big on him. Like I saw some bids of like $30-$40 on him when he came up, and it's just like, this is not how you should do this. Like you haven't even seen him at the major league level. You don't know what they're going to give him playing time. Like just take it easy. And these are the kind of guys that maybe you pick up later. Like they might call him back up in September, and he might give you a couple of really good weeks if they need him. I don't know. I don't know what their situation is going to be. Maybe not, but in the future, he's someone you should definitely keep in mind. Like I definitely think he's going to be good in the future, but just, comes up, struggles. That's normal for a prospect.
Yeah. I mean, I think you nailed it with the old line of the prospect growth isn't linear. I mean, I think he's going to be a guy to buy low on next year. Like if someone, he's probably going to be a forgotten guy. Anytime someone comes up to the majors and struggles right away, they get buried in the fantasy community. So I'm more than happy to dive back in on Colton Cowser next year at a really, really cheap price. They need to make some trades though, because they've got way too much young talent.
I'm honestly shocked that they didn't move any of their young outfielders. They have so many, and they need pitching still.
Yeah. All right. Last item on the rundown, and then we'll actually add one because someone mentioned it in chat and I forgot to put it on. Ozzie Albies to the IL. We kind of already mentioned. Oh, did I skip one? Oh, sorry. Royce Lewis coming back tomorrow? ?
Well, yeah. So there's a Minnesota beat writer that I follow who said that he said that Royce Lewis is expected back tomorrow. So I have not seen any confirmation from the team or anything, but he's had several minor league games and he's crushed. Like he's hit 2 home runs on his rehab assignment. He certainly seems like he's ready to come back. So I feel like it's possible. Like the Twins are in the hunt for winning their division. So and Byron Buxton's out. So they have an opening right now. I don't know why they wouldn't bring him back. So those of you who stashed Royce Lewis might be able to use him this week still.
Yeah. I mean, on a per plate appearance basis, Royce Lewis could be a really, really impactful player. Problem with Royce Lewis is he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
He's never been able to stay healthy.
But can he stay healthy for A month and a half, Justin. That's all I need. A month and a half.
We've never seen it, but I mean, like, you know, small samples can. I mean, look at. I mean, his teammate Byron Buxton is like the perfect example, right? How many times?
Okay, let's not call him Byron Buxton just yet. This is Buxton over 8 seasons. Royce Lewis has been like 2.
Well, no, he's been injured all throughout the minor leagues. Like, this is not just like a major league problem. I was at the 2019 fall league when he like tore his ACL or something like that. I was at.
I'm not disagreeing. He's injury prone, no question.
Yeah,
but I think he can go a month and a half without getting hurt. I'm hoping.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Byron Buxton has shown 6 weeks of elite production that has tricked us all into spending way too high of a draft price the following year. So, like,
not all of us.
Well, most of us. So, you know, like, I think that, yeah, could Royce Lewis do that? Absolutely, I think he could. And I think I kind of wish I'd picked him up in the leagues where he was available this last FAB period just to take the gamble, because he's multi-positional eligible at a short and third, which is perfect because you could play him at MI and CI. And like, you know, I think he's going to play every day. Like, I think they're going to find a place for him in the lineup every day as long as he's healthy. But that may be like until like Friday, like that. You know, I mean, that's the unfortunate part.
Don't say shit like that.
I hope I'm wrong. I've got him in a dynasty league that I'd love to fucking flip him in.
Yeah.
But
flip him. Oh God, never mind.
The track record is just not good at this moment. So.
I know, but I have faith he will be productive.
I don't share in the same faith, but I'm rooting for your faith. How about that?
All right, I'll take it.
All right, now to Ozzie Albies. We already kind of mentioned him. I don't think you're not doing anything. You're not dropping him. He's been too good. And right now, it doesn't seem like this is a serious hamstring injury, but he's going to miss 10 days.
I will say this. When they first came out and said it's a cramp, me and my friends all immediately said, bullshit. I bet he ends up going on the IL. You know, hamstrings are just not something that end up never, but very rarely end up being, you know, an insignificant injury. I would be surprised if he was back after 10 days. I'll say that. I think it's more likely to be like a 3-week injury, maybe. We'll see. I mean, yeah, you obviously weren't going to drop him. But I don't know that it's going to be a quick turnaround either. So I would be going and adding Vaughn Grissom. And for all you people who are talking about Nicky Lopez, no. I don't care.
I think Nicky Lopez is going to play more than Vaughn Grissom.
What?
I think Nicky Lopez is probably going to play more than Vaughn Grissom.
I will take that bet.
All right. Well, we'll you know, whoever has more plate appearances until Ozzie Albies comes back. We'll take a look. But,
all right. Well, starting from the time that Grissom comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. So
okay.
But they do not like his defense. Like, there's a reason why he has spent the entire year pretty much in the minor leagues. It's because his defense is bad, and they care about that defense. Like, that is important. It's the reason why Michael Harris got to keep playing when he was struggling, because Michael Harris's defense is fantastic, right? The reason why they have been rolling with Orlando Arcia is not because Orlando Arcia can swing a bat. It's because his defense is really good at shortstop. Like, I don't think that Vaughn Grissom's defense is going to be good enough to give him everyday plate appearance. Maybe they split it evenly, but like, do you care about a guy hitting 8? You know, on a team that is only playing 3 days a week?
I think he's going to play more than that, but I can't find it right now. But I was looking it up earlier, and I think it was the GM basically said it's likely we're going to call up Vaughn Grissom, and you know, we're hoping he can give us like a month or whatever, like he did last year, something like that, to that extent. So whatever it was, it sounded like, yes, he is going to be our guy. We're gonna rely on him until Albies comes back. Now, maybe that's not true, but I want any part of this Braves offense that I can get. Obviously, I can't get, you know, Matt Olson or, you know, Acuna or any of that. So, you know, all those guys are owned. I mean, even like Arcia's owned everywhere. You know, Murphy's owned everywhere. every part of that fucking offense is gold because they play them every day, and that offense just scores. So, I picked Vaughn Grissom up everywhere in my Fantrax league, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 5 more games this week. If he's playing in 4 of those games, then I'll be spending a good amount of fab on him this weekend. So we shall see. All right, the piece of news that I didn't include on the rundown, but that THPNOB in the chat mentioned, he said, do you see Mason Miller is going to go on a rehab assignment? Dave, do you care?
I did not see that actually.
I did see it earlier. I forgot to include it on the rundown.
Okay, so he's gonna go on a rehab assignment. I mean, the only thing is, and obviously you're saying, do I care because you don't care? But
I don't care. And if you'd like me to explain why I don't care,
no, I know. I mean, and I get it. We're kind of right on the edge right now. Where I mean, it'll probably be several starts, right? You'd think he has to be down there at least 3 starts. I would say. Maybe
I'd say at least 2, if not 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 starts. So we'll say 2 weeks from now. So he'll probably be back early September. And then, what are you going to get? Obviously the A's suck.
Yeah, that is true.
It really just depends on who you're replacing though. Like if you're talking about in a 12 team, do I care? Not really. In a 15 team league. Yeah. I mean, he could be another option who, if I'm looking for good ratios or Ks, he might be a player. I don't want to write him off.
Okay. Let's say he's back the first week of September, right? I think that is a fair assessment. He gets, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 rehab assignments.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
These are the matchups for the A's in September. The Angels, the Blue Jays, at Texas, at Houston, versus San Diego, Seattle, Detroit, Minnesota, at the Angels. Like, he's going to win 0 games because the A's are going to win 0 games. And he might get blown up in a few of those games, depending on which one of those series he gets. Like, the upside is not nearly high enough to warrant the massive downside.
You're a guy who's rolling Josiah Gray, so how are you going to talk shit about someone using Mason? I mean, I'm just saying.
Because I know that Josiah Gray can go 6 innings.
Okay.
Like that, and I don't know that Mason Miller, it's a team that clearly isn't they wouldn't be competitive in AAA right now. They're not going to be competitive. Like, why would they even let him go deep enough to qualify for a win? And even if he does, they're not going to qualify for wins. And now you're talking about a potentially a 3-category pitcher, maybe even a 2-category pitcher, considering he's not going to pitch enough innings to get a ton of strikeouts. Like, I just don't think that this isn't a reasonable allocation of assets for that.
No. I'm not saying he's a guy to stash. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if he's on the waiver wire and he comes back, and I think his matchup's okay, and it's not his first start back, and I think he looks good at some point. I think he's built up to the point where he can at least go 5 innings. Then I think he's an option. He's not a guy that I'm prioritizing. He's not a guy I'm stashing or any of that.
Yeah, I don't care. The only reason I care is hey, it'd be nice to see him finish the year healthy on the mound, so that way next year I feel a little bit more comfortable potentially drafting him. But you know what? If he finishes really strong, there are going to be people who are fucking pushing up way too fucking.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna get overhyped. That's for sure, and I'm not going to buy into that. Very rarely does that pay off, especially when you're on the A's.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said Jackson Holiday got to come up for the playoff run. He's not coming up.
I don't think so.
And then Logan in the chat said, less than Jake Hat. Thanks for the horn section in my head the rest of the night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's my new best friend right there, Logan K.
There we go. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. So if you are watching live and there are a few people, hey, in the middle of the night watching us live, appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. We're going to end this live stream, going straight into another one. But for those who are listening on podcast form, Dave, remind people where you can reach and what you're working on, if you're working on anything.
At Run DMCD, and I'm keeping my pitching and hitting schedules updated on the site on rotosource.com, and that's what I'm working on aside from just trying to finish the season out strong.
You can reach me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. You reach me on all my social media platforms. I'm on a ton of them now. TikTok.
Some might say too many.
Twitter, Facebook, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Post.
The fuck is Mastodon?
Mastodon is like one of the Twitter replacements. It sucks. Blue Sky is pretty cool, but none of them are probably going to replace Twitter. But
no, I don't think so.
I figure if any of them, I might as well get on the ground floor. I'm writing daily over at Fangraphs and 3 times a week over at Fantasy Pros. Dave and I are recording 4 episodes for this week, but hopefully starting next week, I'll have some other podcast partners. So Dave doesn't have to stay up till 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday nights. So keep tuned in. Got some cool stuff hopefully coming in the off season and then coming into 2024 for Friends of Fantasy Benefits. For Dave and myself, thanks for listening. Have fantastic baseball.